So much media, so little time. Who keeps track of it all? That would be me. This is Bob Andelman, and this is a Mr. Media interview, sponsored by 1-800-DialDJs.com and recorded live on blogtalkradio.com from the new media capital of the world and hometown of Academy Award-nominated actress Angela Bassett and Tony Award-nominated actor Patrick Wilson, St. Petersburg, Florida. When Billy Bob Thornton was on this show a few years ago, I figured I was one Kevin Bacon degree removed from my first X-Man, Halle Berry. And actually, she's an ex-woman, but you know how that goes. When today is done, I'll still be 1 degree of separation away from Storm, but I'll have interviewed my first real X-Man, Shawn Ashmore, who played Iceman in all 3 X-Men movies. And now I'll also be 1 degree of separation away from Anna Paquin, who played Rogue in the X movies and whose character dated Ashmore's character. So I got that going for me. Anyway, Ashmore is returning to the big screen on February 5th as the star of Frozen, which will have its world premiere at the Sundance Film Festival on Sunday, January 24th. It's the story of 3 friends who get stuck on a ski lift when it shuts down for the night and the week. You can see the trailer at www.apple.com/trailers, but in the meantime, use your imagination and listen to this.
Are you guys sure about this?
Yeah, it works all the time. All you have to do is go over there and you say, like...
I said that I could pay for all 3 lift tickets, and then I left my credit card at the gas station.
Right.
Totally on money. Just not enough for all 3.
Last run, gotta make it...
Woo!
God, I love radio. Shawn Ashmore, welcome to Mr. Media.
Hey, how you doing? That's actually really, really creepy to hear all my friends just screaming over the phone. You know what I mean? There's no images, just like these voices screaming. How you doing this morning?
I'm okay. Can you imagine just tuning into that and hearing that and not having it in context? It would kind of freak you out a little.
Yeah, it sounds like people are being slaughtered on the internet.
Well, not to say that hasn't happened before and won't happen again.
True enough. True enough.
So, Shawn, look, let's get right to it. You're Iceman. What is the big deal about getting stuck on a ski lift? I mean, you just make an ice bridge with your finger, and everybody can slide home happily and have a few beers at the Brewski pub, right?
If only we were living in the X-Men universe, the Marvel universe, that would totally be doable. However, yeah, in Frozen, no superpowers, no special effects. It really is a movie about, the draws on primal fears. I mean, height, man versus nature, and isolation. So yeah, I mean, Frozen really is a story about 3 friends that through sort of all these unfortunate circumstances become stranded on a lift on Sunday night in a resort on the East Coast, which is sort of a smaller resort that doesn't open during the week. So they're stranded there for 5 days and are forced to make decisions on how they're going to try and survive. Are they going to sit it out, or are they going to try and scale down from a 50-foot lift? What are the choices you make? And if you're really in that situation, how would you survive? So that's sort of what the audience is put through in this film.
Is this the skiing version of Jaws or Alive?
Interesting. I feel like it's a little more like Jaws. There's no cannibalism. I don't want to give too much away, but it has elements of a lot of classic thrillers, I think. But it really is a character piece. That's the really interesting thing about this movie. You sort of see the trailer or you hear about it, and you're like, well, how is this? How are you going to maintain the tension and the excitement over an hour and a half with three characters? And that's really thanks to Adam Green, our director and writer, who visually made the film look incredible, considering it is one location. They had a huge, giant techno crane, which is like a 50-foot sweeping crane, and some of the shots and some of the locations are absolutely beautiful. But this film really relies on the writing, on the characters, and on the acting, basically, to draw these audiences in and keep them interested in what's going to happen to these people. And I think that's Adam's real gift, is just his writing and his character development. And then we were all three of us as actors were given the gift of trying to maintain a film for an hour and a half, which is exciting and also terrifying at the same time. It's if there's ever a false beat or a moment where people are allowed to be like, oh, this isn't real, you know what I mean? Then you've lost them. So that was our real goal, our real focus while making it, which was beneficial, seeing as we shot at 9,000 feet on the side of a mountain. We weren't in a sound stage somewhere comfortable and drinking Starbucks between takes or anything like that. So we were really sort of put through our paces on this one.
I was, in the age of Avatar, I was actually going to ask you, no kidding, I was going to ask you if you were actually on scene or if you were in a nice warm studio somewhere pretending to be cold and high up.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think when Adam sort of went to a bunch of production companies and producers saying, hey, I want to make this movie that is three characters on the side of a mountain, I think they laughed at him. They said, that's great if we can do it against a green screen in a studio somewhere so we don't have to put actors through, minus 19-degree temperatures at 9,000 feet, 50 feet above in the air for a month. But I think he really wanted to make a survival film, and you're cheating your audience, and you're assuming that people are stupid if you're going to shoot them against the green screen and have actors pretending to shake for an hour and a half. And I think it was really, really important for Adam to sort of make it as real and as visceral as possible. And as I just actually saw Avatar last night for the second time, which I love, and obviously there's a huge, beautiful potential to make amazing settings and characters in an Avatar sort of world in the digital process. But for a smaller film that doesn't have a budget like that, it's really important to put the audience, or at least consider what the audience is going to feel. And if you are watching a real blizzard, whip around three actors, it feels that much more real. It pulls you in. It really makes you feel for these people, and that's exactly what we did. We had three blizzards while we were shooting up there. We were on a lift that was 50 feet. Like, they picked the perfect point, because a lot of people are like, oh, well, why can't you just jump down off the lift, or tie your jackets together and go and slide down the thing or whatever. It's like, when you see the film, we are literally at a point that's 50 feet, a 50-foot drop. So there's no way you're getting down safely without some sort of damage to yourself on the side of a mountain. And it's cold. It feels cold. You would never take your coat off. You would never take your glove off. You would never do anything. So it was about creating reality, because, like I said before, as soon as you are taken out of the scenario or there's like a loophole where you're like, well, that wouldn't really happen, then you've lost the audience. And that's, again, on a movie where it's an hour and a half long and you have three actors telling the story, you can't afford to have people second guessing if the scenario is real. So Adam put us up there for 8 hours at a time on the lift on the side of a mountain in Utah. So it was great.
Oh, so it was in Utah. That's what I was going to ask you. Yeah.
Yeah, we shot in Ogden, Utah, which is sort of 45 minutes or an hour outside of Salt Lake, and it's in the middle of nowhere. It was beautiful. It was amazing. We were very sort of secluded and had the whole run of they actually shut down a lift for us so we could shoot continuously. So it was pretty awesome.
And so, from your description, I'm gonna say that you probably want to clarify for folks that not a buddy comedy. Not a buddy comedy. It's an intense ride. It is scary. It's terrifying. I mean, I don't know if you're a skier or anything like that, but I grew up in Canada, so I grew up snowboarding, and anytime I mention this premise to someone who's been on a lift before, they're like, "Oh my God, that's like my biggest fear." They're like, when the lift stops and it's shaking and like your stomach drops, the pit of your stomach just like freaks out, and there is some sort of natural physical reaction to the idea of being suspended by a wire above a huge distance in height. And
I think what I always say, for me, the way I think about it is, you sort of take a ski lift for granted. It's a piece of technology that's meant to work, to transport you from point A to point B. It's a simple task, and 99.9% of the times it does its job. But there's that small percentage when all the sort of stars line up and something screws up, and this piece of technology that should help you get from one place to another can't. You're in a world of hurt. You're in the elements. You're suspended, and it draws on a lot of sort of primal fears. I mean, the fear of height, the fear of isolation, all those things. So yeah, this movie really sort of draws on that. That being said, I think the reason that it's not just like this bash over the head, intense film, is that the characters are really likable. Adam wrote our writer-director wrote some amazing characters, and you sort of, as these characters are put through this extremely intense sort of situation, they all start to unravel. So it's a really interesting process, I think, as an audience, to watch these characters that you sort of think at the beginning, because you're living with them, you're skiing with them, you're getting to know them. But as this stuff starts to unravel, you really start to feel for these characters and get inside them. And that was, for me, the interest in the film, is that it is a character piece. As much as it's a high concept thriller, there's a huge opportunity to develop a character. I mean, you have the screen, you have to command the screen for an hour and a half, and it's a huge opportunity to sort of develop a character, and it's a very rare opportunity in film, I think, to be given that much time and that much development. And so it was a blast. I mean, it was really, really scary to think that, okay, now we have to go in there and make it work. But Adam gave us a great script and a lot of room to sort of just find our way through these events. So it was a powerful experience, and it sounds strange, but one of the more personal films, I think, that I made in a long time, just because it's very raw. You're up there, the camera's in your face, and you have to really open up and then really expose these characters to the screen, to the audience. So it was a difficult job, but really sort of enjoyable.
Well, it was interesting to me. I was glad that I saw this trailer, and I haven't seen the full movie yet, obviously, but I was glad that I saw the trailer yesterday and not 2 weeks ago. I had never been, I live in Florida right now. I'm from New Jersey, but I live in Florida. I had never been to a ski resort until about 2 weeks ago, and we took our 13-year-old to Vermont over Christmas break and to see snow for the first time and take ski lessons. And I looked at those chairlifts, and I'm not a big fan of heights, and I have to say that Frozen plays right into those fears.
Yeah. Again, it's just like it's a primal fear. It's like there's no one there's people that like heights, but no one really loves heights. And when you're put in a position where you don't have any control, and like I said, you're dangling on a piece of wire and a steel bucket that's completely exposed. It's like, that's scary, no matter who you are. So yeah, it really just sort of plays into that natural sense of fear that we have over heights.
How did this film come to you, or you to it?
Actually, it's kind of an interesting situation. So there's three actors in the film, the main characters, and it's myself and Kevin Zegers and a girl named Emma Bell. And Kevin and I have been friends. We both grew up in Canada. We've been friends for, 10, 15 years, something like that. And I actually got the script over the holidays last year. So it was kind of in December, and I read this. I was up in Toronto visiting my family. I read the script, and I was going to be up there for 3 weeks. I read the script. I liked it, but I didn't think much of it because I wasn't going to be able to take a meeting on it until I got back in the new year. And as soon as I got back, my friend Kevin called me up, and he said, I'm doing this movie called Frozen. Have you seen it? Have you read it? And I was like, yeah, I read it. Actually, I'm planning on going in to meet the director. So immediately, Kevin sort of started talking to Adam and saying, my friend Shawn's coming in, and I think he's right for the part. And we already have a natural chemistry. We've been friends forever. And in the film, his character Dan and my character Lynch are best friends. So we got to go in and do a screen test together, and we got to sort of use our natural chemistry and our relationship that we've had over the past, 10, 15 years, like I said, sort of to our advantage. So it was kind of a unique experience, but that's sort of how it came to be. I read the script, and then Kevin called me up and said, I'm doing this movie, we should, you should come in and we should test and see how it works and if they're interested, and they turned out to be, and that's how we made the movie. So it was kind of a cool situation because, if you're going to be stuck up on a chairlift for a month, with two people. At least one of them was like one of my really good friends. So it was kind of a nice treat to be able to work with him. And I think he's a really talented guy. And we've been sort of looking to make a movie together. You know, you always want to work with your friends. And this opportunity just came up, and we both jumped right on it.
And tell us something about Emma Bell. I'm not familiar with her, but I suspect we'll see more of her.
Yes, no, she's amazing in the film. A great girl. Again, she's the sort of I think she's the audience in this film. And she's just really, really strong. And another unique experience working with somebody, because I didn't know Emma at all. And in the story, she plays Kevin's girlfriend, and I'm sort of the third wheel tagging along. You know, my best friend brings me up to meet his girlfriend, and, you know, I'm giving him a hard time, as we do, teasing him and being like, you know, why you bring your girlfriend along on our you know, snowboard days? She's holding us up, all that kind of stuff. And we really took advantage. I really took advantage of that as an actor, not knowing Emma, you know, not really trying to get to know her too much at the beginning of the film, just because I didn't need to. And as the film goes along, my character Lynch and her character Parker really sort of, you know, make a bond. And, you know, again, we were up there sitting for a month. So, and it was an interesting film too, because usually when you're making a film, you know, when you cut, you can whip out your cell phone, or you grab a coffee, or, you know, you're hanging out with the director, or you're behind the monitors talking to producers, or the grips, or the camera guys, or whatever. But in this film, we were up there for 6 hours at a time. We'd go up there, get planted where the chair gets stuck for 6 hours, and then come down for lunch, and then go back up there and spend 6 hours. We didn't go up and down. It was too dangerous to have a crane up there, because we had blizzards hit all the time, and if it's windy and the cranes are rocking, I mean, it's just dangerous, you know what I mean? They didn't want us to fall. So we didn't really get to interact with anybody else. So we really were up there together, hanging out for, you know, a month. And we sort of made a pact not to have cell phones or anything up there, so we just stayed really focused and got to know each other and worked, and it was cool. But no, Emma was really strong in the movie, and I'm really excited to see sort of what she does next.
Yeah, I got to ask you, technically speaking, you're up there all that time. Well, two things. One is what did you find kept you warm enough to be up there? And also,
nothing. On the
technical side, nothing. Okay. Well, that's a simple thing. But all right, then let's answer me this. On the technical side of filmmaking, generally, you know, you make a movie, but you know, you loop in your voices later. Was the sound was real sound used from being up there, or was it all that looped in later?
No, we had real sound. I mean, to expand a little bit more on that question about being cold. I mean, it was absolutely freezing. I've never been so cold. And we were completely dressed for it, you know, like thermal layers and heat packs, but you're not moving. You know what I mean? You're sitting, and so you know what I mean. There's no blood flowing, and you know, even if your body's dropping, you know, half a degree every half hour, it's still, if you're out there for 6 or 8 hours, you're absolutely freezing by the end of it. And one of the hardest things that I didn't even take into consideration, I knew that we were going to be cold, but when you're riding a lift, you know, usually ride a lift for 10, 15 minutes, depending on the height of the mountain, and your legs get a little numb from the weight of the snowboard or the skis pulling down on you. Well, when you're up there for 8 hours, we'd get off the lift at the end of the day and like couldn't stand up. Our legs were completely dead. So we'd have to have people like help us stand up and get feeling back in our legs before we could walk. It was definitely, there's all these weird little problems that you don't really think about in pre-production, and then all of a sudden you're in it and you're like, oh yeah, like that's 5 pounds weighing on my knee for 8 hours like that. My leg's gonna be absolutely a stone by the time I need to stand up and walk. So just small things like that were difficult, but you know, you get through it. You find ways. They found ways to sort of attach our boards to the bottom of the lift every once in a while, so we could take a little weight off. So just things like that were kind of little tricks that we had to find as we went. But as far as the sound, no, the sound was real sound. They had mics in our hats, actually, in our caps and beanies and stuff like that. That seemed to be the best place to put a mic that the wind wouldn't get to it. And they also had mics attached to the lift. You know, very inconspicuously. So, no, it's real sound. I mean, you know, you go in and you do a few ADR lines. There's a whole scene where there's like a blizzard coming through, and, you know, the sound just was not usable, so we had to go in and do some lines here or there. But for the most part, it was practical sound, like everything else in the film. The snow is real. The cold is real. You know, the sound is real.
The cold is real. It certainly is. Well, let's in the time we have left, let's talk about that little sausage factory where you worked for a few years, the X-Men Trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
It's certainly made or enhanced an awful lot of careers. How did you come to director Bryan Singer's attention?
Honestly, it was such a random thing, and it's a story that I love to tell because it's one of those. I have a million actor friends that are 10 times more talented than I am, and just can't find that break, that thing that sort of helps them out, and that's exactly what X-Men was for me. And it was just very random. I was shooting a television series in Toronto, which is where I grew up, and it was actually a Disney TV show. I was, I think, 17, and I got a call saying from agents up there saying, "Oh, there's this film coming, it's a Fox film coming to town. They want you to audition." I was like, "Okay, sure. Give me the time and the date. I'll be there." And they said it's for the new X-Men film, and I was like, "Whoa, wait, X-Men filming here?" I was a comic book fan growing up. I loved sci-fi, fantasy stuff, and read the X-Men growing up. So as soon as they said, X-Men, Bryan Singer, I was a huge Usual Suspects fan. I said, great, I'll just go in. But it's such a long shot, you know what I mean? It was just completely random. So I went in for a pre-read just to put myself on tape with the casting director, and then I got a call back, and I got a call back, and I got a call back, and I finally went in to meet Bryan, and he sort of had the handheld video camera, and we shot the scene. I don't know if you remember in X-Men 1 where I tell Rogue's character to leave the school, and I'm actually Mystique playing Bobby, and that was the scene that I auditioned with for Bryan, and he had a handheld camera, and we were sitting on a bench, and we played the scene, and at that point I was just excited to be there. I was like, I'm meeting this director who I'm really excited to sort of see his work, and I was excited to be a part of the X-Men thing. But at that point, I just thought that's what it was going to be. I had a bunch of callbacks, and they'd probably cast someone from L.A., and, this was just a cool opportunity, and I got really close, and that's the end of it. And then I got the call saying, oh, yeah, no, you got the part. And so my first day was that first scene with Anna on the bench, and I only shot for about 2 weeks on the first film, and most of it was just kind of whole days, like I'd come and hang out, and, they weren't sure if they're going to get to my scenes or not. And when the film was done, that was it. I worked for a couple of weeks, and I was so nervous. The first take, I've never had to say, can we cut before, you know what I mean? I've never really been nervous, but before the first take, it just felt huge, you know what I mean? Cameras everywhere, huge equipment. It felt like a big film, and I was so nervous before my first take. I almost, my knees were knocking. I almost had to be like, you know what, can we just stop for a second? I went through with it, and it was fine. The first take was crappy, but whatever, we made it through. And that was it. And then the movie came out, and it was, a big success, and it was cool. And but I had no expectations of being brought back or anything like that for the second film or the third film. But I got a call about a month before X2, or maybe, no, it's probably about 2 months before X-Men 2 started shooting, and from Bryan saying, listen, we have a script for X-Men 2, and, I really want you to play Bobby again, and, give it a look. And I said, great. So they sent the script over, and I had to sign a confidentiality thing and then give it right back. But I read the script, and I was sitting there, going through the pages, and I'm like, oh man, I'm actually in this. I don't feel killed, and I kept on flipping through the script and being like, oh, I'm still here. So it was just one of those fluky things. It wasn't anything that was planned or anything that I expected. It was just, I think Bryan's a really loyal guy, and when he finds something that he likes, something that works, there's no reason to sort of change it up. And so it was a huge opportunity for me, but very, very random. You know what I mean? It was just one of those things that happened, and it happened over several years. So people were like, oh my God, it must have been so exciting. And of course it was, but it happened over several years. The first part was just a part. It was just, a couple weeks work, and I moved on and was doing other things. And so yeah, it just came sort of to be over a couple years, and it's just now looking back, I'm like, I can't believe that actually happened. It all worked out. But because so many times you get close to things and they just don't work out. So it was a huge opportunity, and I've made some great friends, and I've just got to be a part of such a interesting, cool, exciting group of characters and a franchise that is so rare. And the thing that I really enjoy about it is that every couple of years you get to go back and play the same character, which is so rare. So as you mature as a person, you sort of come back and put a different spin on the character. Or if there's certain aspects of the character you didn't like in the last film, you get a chance to sort of alter those, which is a very cool and unique experience. Usually that really happens. So it's been an amazing ride.
Any sense of whether you'll get to play that character again sometime?
I hope so. They're obviously always making X-Men films. They're very successful, and they have a huge and amazing fan base, very loyal and very excited about the characters and their stories. But at this point, I don't know. But, I think I always get asked that question, and until they call you up and say, hey, we're starting a movie and you're on it, you never really know. But I think that the possibility is always there. The Marvel Universe is so huge, and the characters are so accessible to people, and I think so exciting for a lot of people that, you never know. And I would love to. Honestly, it's a character that, like I said, I'd love to play every 3 or 4 years. So, who knows? At this point, I'm not a part of a film or anything like that, but it can always happen.
Anna Paquin, who I mentioned in the introduction, of course,
yes.
played opposite you as Rogue, and you guys were, sort of dating in the film, sort of not. Tell us something, as she's become huge in the last 2 seasons with True Blood. Tell us something about Anna that most people don't know.
What can I tell you about Anna that other people don't know? I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, honestly, she's been a really good friend, and she's just a really, really sweet, talented girl. I mean, I think that's very, very obvious, but I can't think of anything that's really crazy or interesting or unique. She's just, she's a very, very down-to-earth, cool girl, and I've had the opportunity, obviously, to work for several years with her. But I don't know if I can divulge any secret information. I don't think there's that much to divulge. But she is a great girl, and she's been a really good friend, and it's exciting to see her do a character like Sookie in True Blood. Not only do I love Anna, but I'm actually a fan of the show, so it's nice to sort of see your friends really doing something that you're excited about, and that's doing really well for them. So it's a unique character for her. I didn't see it coming, and now I love it. So that's very cool. I'm excited for her.
And, I'm looking, as we're talking, I'm looking at the cast list. This is for X2 I have in front of me. Patrick Stewart, Hugh Jackman, Ian McKellen, Halle Berry, Famke Janssen, James Marsden, Anna Paquin, Rebecca Romaine, Alan Cumming. Just an amazing cast of people. Were you aware of these people in terms of, I mean, a lot of them, the more mature ones, had done so much already. And then and some of the younger actors. It must have been just an amazing experience.
Well, it was like a lesson every day. I mean, you could go to set and watch literally some of the best actors working today do their job and do it well and do it in an amazing fashion. I mean, that sounds cheesy, and I'm not trying to kiss anybody's butt, but it is true. I mean, especially on X-Men 2 when I was there, I had a little more confidence. The first one I was just shut up and do your job and stay out of the way. But on the second one, like everyone, it was a very friendly environment. And again, I think it was exciting. It was like the first film was successful, so everyone was back to sort of play these characters again, and the stakes were higher, so everyone was sort of pushed to sort of, tell the story in a more exciting, dynamic way. And it was great. I mean, I was brought in as one of the gang, which was cool. And especially when you're working with actors that you look up to and that are so successful. And yeah, it was like a lesson every day. And so just to go and watch Ian and Patrick have a scene together, it's like, when do you get that opportunity? They're two amazing actors that are literally at the top of their craft and at their field, and you get to sit there and watch them for hours on end, like play, you know what I mean? And they just love it, they enjoy it, and you can see that, and that was exciting. That was very cool. And there was also a scene in X-Men 2 where it's after Femga's character Jean Grey gets the wave sort of toppled on her, and Hugh Jackman and Jimmy Marsden have a scene together where they're both sort of very emotional after losing sort of the woman that they love. And they shot that scene for, I think, 2 days. And, in the film, it's like a 30-second beat. It's like, really quick, but they shot it for 2 days. And just the level that they sort of kept up and the emotion that they had to sort of give for those 2 days, I was blown away. I was thinking it's going to be such an amazing beat in the film and such an amazing scene in the film. And I was like, man, you're out, as an actor, you're always excited, or you're hoping, you wish that you had a moment like that. But I honestly, watching them do it, I was just like, I'm not sure that I'd be able to maintain for that long. And you know what I mean? You never want to fall flat. So I was just very impressed by everybody in the film. And there's just stuff, moments like that where you're like, wow, these people are amazing at what they do, and you really have something to learn. So I just tried to soak up as much as I could and hang out, and it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, so many iconic actors and playing iconic characters. I mean, just a really remarkable situation. But look, yeah, I know why we're here, and I want to tell everybody, folks, Shawn Ashmore's new film, Frozen, has its world premiere at the Sundance Film Festival later this month, and then opens nationwide on February 5th. And if you want to see the trailer, if you can't you can't get by with just hearing it on the show here, you can go to apple.com/trailers, and you'll find it there. And, of course, if you don't already have the X-Men Trilogy on DVD, I recommend it to you, and you can order it at www.mrmedia.com. Shawn Ashmore, it has been a lot of fun talking to you. Enjoyed seeing you in the X Trilogy, and look forward to seeing you in Frozen. And thanks so much for joining us on Mr. Media today.
Thanks so much for your time. Stay warm.
Yeah, you too. Good luck.
I'll try. See you, man.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And, folks, for more original interviews with your favorite movie stars, you can surf over to our main website, www.mrmedia.com. That's where you can listen to my earlier conversations with Kirk Douglas, Billy Bob Thornton, who knows Halle Berry, Ali Sheedy, who knows Matthew Broderick, and many more. Subscribe to Mr. Media on iTunes, and you'll never miss a show. Just search Mr. Media Interviews from within iTunes and subscribe for free. You can also listen with a piece of string and a tin can in many locations. If you've got an idea for a guest, email me directly at bob@andelman.com. You can also follow me on Facebook or on Twitter, www.twitter.com/Andelman or facebook.com/Andelman. Thanks so much for joining us today. Always appreciate when you give up a little piece of your day and spend it with us. Thanks for listening, everybody.